to like 110. Great. So it's my duty, of course, to inform you of fire exits. So if, there's an emergency or something happens, obviously there's the door you came in and out that way, or if you turn left out there, you go to the end of the hall and turn right, and you'd be outside. Same out here, there's an exit at the back. You would turn right and go straight down out the door at the back. But of course, we'll let you know if something happens. I'm sure nothing's going to. Cell phones, please turn them off. You don't want to be a distraction in a small area like this. It would be even worse, more embarrassing, I would assume. So I would turn them off so that those lights don't even blink and all of that. And then please stay seated during the show. If you have to leave, it's an emergency, obviously that's fine, but if you don't have to, I really wouldn't. There are 3 acts of the play. 2 of them are together, and then we have an intermission for about 10 minutes. So be prepared for that. There are also refreshments and dramograms at intermission if you choose to purchase them. And we kind of ask that the refreshments stay outside of the auditorium area. So I think that's it for tonight. Sit back, enjoy the show, and welcome to our town.
Called Our Town.
It was written by Thornton Wilder.
The name of the town is Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, just across the Massachusetts line. Latitude 42 degrees 40 minutes, longitude 70 degrees 37 minutes.
The first act shows a day in our town. The day is May 7th, 1901. The time is just before dawn. The sky is beginning to show some streaks of light over in the east there behind our mountain. The morning star always gets wonderful bright the minute before it has to go, doesn't it?
Well, I ought to show you how our town lies. Up here is Main Street. Way over there is the railway station. The tracks go that way. Across the tracks is Polish Town, along with some Canuck families. Over this way is the Congregational Church. Presbyterians across the street. Methodist and Unitarian are over here. Baptist is down in the hollow by the river, and Catholic is over beyond the tracks.
Here's the town hall and post office combined. Jail's in the basement. Ryan once made a speech along these very steps here. And along here's a row of stores, horse blocks and hitching posts in front of them. First automobile's going to come along in about 5 years. Belonged to banker Cartwright, our richest citizen. Lives in the big White House up on top of the hill. Here's the grocery store, and here's Mr. Morgan's drugstore.
Most everybody in town manages to look into those 2 stores at least once a day. Public school's over yonder. High school's even farther over. 8:45 mornings, noon times, and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the whole town can hear the yelling and screaming from those schoolyards.
This is our doctor's house, Doc Gibbs. This is the back door. There's some scenery for those of you who have to have scenery. This is Mrs. Gibbs's garden. Corn, peas, beans, hollyhock, heliotrope, and a lot of burdock.
In those days, our paper came out twice a week, the Grover's Corners Sentinel. This is Editor Webb's house. And this is Mrs. Webb's garden. Just like Mrs. Gibbs's over there, only there's a lot of sunflower. Right here is a great big butternut tree. Nice town, you know what I mean?
Nobody very remarkable ever come out of it, as far as we know. The earliest tombstones in the cemetery up there on the mountains say 1670, 1680. There are Grovers and Cartwrights and Gibbses and Herseys, same names as are around here now.
Well, as I said, it's about dawn. The only lights on in town are in a Polish cottage across the tracks where a mother's just had twins, and in the Joe Crowell house, where Joe Jr. is getting up so as to deliver the paper. And down at the depot, where Shorty Hawkins has just waved the 5:45 for Boston.
Naturally, out in the country, all around, lights have been on for some time now, what with the milkings and so on. But town people sleep late, so another day's begun. There's Doc Gibbs coming down Main Street now, coming back from that baby case.
And there's Mrs. Gibbs coming downstairs to make breakfast. Doc Gibbs died in 1930. The new hospital's named after him. Mrs. Gibbs died before him. Long time ago, in fact. She went out to visit her daughter Rebecca, who married an insurance man in Canton, Ohio, and died there. Pneumonia. They brought her body back here, and she's up in our cemetery now, in one of the whole mess of Gibbses and Herseys.
She was Julia Hersey before she married Doc Gibbs in the Congregational Church over there. In our town, we like to know the facts about everybody. And there's Mrs. Webb coming downstairs to get her breakfast, too.
And there's Doc Gibbs. Got that call at 1:30 this morning. And there's Joe Crowell Jr. coming to deliver the paper.
Morning, Doc.
Oh, morning, Joe.
Anybody been sick, Doc?
No, pair of twins born over in Polishtown.
You want your paper now?
Sure, I'll take it. Anything serious going on in the world since Wednesday?
No, except nothing much except after our teacher, Miss Foster's getting married to a fella down in Concord.
I declare. How do you boys feel about that?
Well, of course, it's none of my business. But I think if a person starts off as a teacher, they ought to stay.
How's your knee, Joe?
Good. And Doc, I never think about it a day.
Does it tell you when it's going to rain?
Yes, sir.
Well, what's it telling you today?
No, sir.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Your knee ever make a mistake?
No, sir.
Want to tell you something about that boy, Joe Kroll there. Joe was awful bright. Graduated from high school here, head of his class. So he got a scholarship to Massachusetts Tech. Graduated head of his class there, too. It was all wrote up in the Boston paper at the time.
Gonna be a great engineer, Joe was. But then the war broke out. He died in France. All that education for nothing.
Yeah, Bessie.
Here comes Howie Newsom, delivering the milk.
Morning, Doc.
Oh, morning, Howie.
Somebody sick?
No, pair of twins over to Mrs. Goroslavsky's.
Twins, eh? This town's getting bigger every year.
Is it going to rain, Howie?
No. That'll burn through. Oh, Bessie.
Hello, Bessie. How old is she, Howie?
Going on 17. Bessie's been all mixed up about the route ever since the Lockharts quit taking their quart of milk every day. She wants to leave them one saying. Keeps scolding me the whole trip.
Good morning, Howie.
Morning, Mrs. Gibbs. Doc's just down the street.
Is he? Seems like you're late today.
Yeah, something went wrong with the separator. Don't know what it was. Doc?
Yeah, Howie?
Children, time to get up.
Come on, Bessie.
George, Rebecca. Everything all right, Frank?
Yes, I declare. Easy as kittens.
Bacon will be ready in just a minute. Sit down and drink your coffee. You can catch a couple hours of sleep, can't you?
Mrs. Wentworth's coming over at 11. Suppose I know what's about as well. Stomach ain't what it ought to be.
I declare, Frank, you won't get more than 3 hours of sleep. Frank, I'm worried about you. I think you should go on a trip. I think it would do you good. Children, time to get up. I declare, Frank, you've got to speak to George. I don't know what's come over him lately. I can't even get him to cut me some blood.
Is he sassy to you?
No, he just whines. All he thinks about is that baseball. George! Rebecca! You'll be late for school! George!
George! Look sharp!
Yes, Ma.
Can't you hear your mother calling you? I suppose I'll head upstairs and get 40 wings.
Children! than bright.
I'm both, Mama. You know I am. I'm the brightest girl in school for my age. I have a wonderful memory.
Eat your breakfast.
I'm bright too when I'm looking at my stamp collection.
I'll talk to your father about it when he's well rested. Seems to me like 25 cents is enough for a boy your age. Although I don't know what you spend it on.
I got a lot of stuff to buy.
Strawberry phosphates. That's what you spend it on.
I don't see how Rebecca comes to have so much money. She has more than $1.
I've been saving it up gradual. Now, dear, I think it's all right to spend some every now and then. Mama, you know what I love most in the world, do ya? Money. Oh, eat your breakfast. Mama, there's first go.
Mama, I gotta hurry.
Mama, I don't want anyone. Walk fast, but you don't have to run. Wally, pull your pants up at the knee. Stand up straight, Emily. Tell Miss Foster I sent her my best congratulations. Can you remember that? Yes, Mom. You look very nice, Rebecca. Pick up your feet.
Bye, Mama.
Here, Chick Chick. Here, Chick Chick. What's the matter with you? Fight, fight, fight. That's all you do. Here, Chick Chick. Oh, where'd you come from? Oh, you don't belong to me. Oh, it's all right. Don't be scared. No one's gonna hurt you. Good morning, Myrtle. How's your cold?
I still get that tickling and feeling in my throat. Charles says it wouldn't be any use for me to go to choir practice tonight.
Have you tried singing over your voice?
I have, but I can't seem to stay on the key. While I'm resting, I thought I'd turn some of these beans.
Here, let me help you. Beans have been good this year.
I've decided to put up 40 quarts if it kills me. Children say they hate it, but they're able to keep them down all winter long.
Myrtle, I've got to tell you something. Because if I don't tell somebody, I'll burst.
Why, Julia Gibbs.
Here, hand me some more of those beans. Myrtle, did one of those second-hand men from Boston come to visit you last Friday?
No.
Well, he called on me. At first I thought he was a patient waiting to see Doc, and he'd worm his way up to my parlor, Myrtle Webb. He offered me $350 for Grandmother Wentworth's hard boy. As I'm just sitting here.
By Julia Gibbs.
He did, that old thing. Why, it was so big, I didn't know where to put it. I almost gave it to Cousin Hester Wilcox.
Well, you're going to take it, aren't you?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know, Julia? $350 and you don't know?
Well, if I could get the doc to take the money and go away someplace, I'd sell it just like that. You know, Myrtle, it's been a dream of my life to see Paris, France. Oh, it's crazy, I suppose. But I always told myself that if I got the chance.
So what did the doctor say about it?
Oh, well, I did beat around the bush a little. It said that if I got the legacy, that's the way I put it, I'd make him take me someplace.
But what did he say?
Oh, you know him. I haven't heard a serious word out of him since I've known him. No, he said. I'm afraid it will make him discontent with Grosvenor's Corners to go traipsing around Europe. Better let well enough alone, he says. Every 2 years he takes a trip to the battlefields of the Civil War. That's enough treat for anybody, he says.
Dr. Gibbs is an expert in the Civil War. Mr. Webb wants to move over to the Civil War, but he can't leave Napoleon. And Mr. Gibbs, being one of the greatest experts in the country, just makes a mistake.
It's a fact. Doc is never as happy as when he's in Antony or Gettysburg. The amount of times, Myrtle, I walked over those hills, pacing at every bush as if we're gonna buy it.
Well, if that second-hand man's serious about buying it, Julia, you sell it. And then you'll get to see Paris all right. Just keep dropping hints from time to time. That's how I got to see the land of Goshen.
Oh, I'm sorry I mentioned it. Only it seems to me that once in your life, before you die, you ought to see a country where they don't talk English, nor even want to.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Now, we're going to skip ahead a few hours. But first, we want a little more information about our town. Kind of a scientific account, you might say. So I've asked Professor Willard of our state university to come sketch in a few details of the history of man here. Is Professor Willard here?
May I introduce Professor Willard of our state university? A few brief notes, thank you, Professor. Unfortunately, our time is limited.
Grover's Corners. Let me see. Grover's Corners lies in the old Pleistocene granite of the Appalachian Range. I may say it's some of the oldest land in the world. We're very proud of that. A shelf of Devonian basalt that crosses with vestiges of Mesozoic shale and some sandstone outcroppings. But that's all more recent, only 200, 300 million years old. There's been some highly interesting fossils that have been found, unique fossils, 2 miles out of town in Silas Peckham's cow pasture. They can be viewed at our museum at any time. That is, any reasonable time. Would you like me to read some of Professor Gruber's notes on meteorological situation, mean precipitation, etc.?
Afraid we won't have time for that, Professor. We might have a few words on the history of man here.
Oh yes, anthropological data. Old Amerindian stock, Cotahatchee tribes. No evidence before the 10th century in this area. Now entirely disappeared. Possible traces in 3 families. Migration towards the end of the 17th century of Old English brachiocephalic blue-eyed stock, for the most part. Since then, some Slavic Mediterranean.
And the population, Professor Willard?
The population is 2,640.
Just a moment, Professor.
Oh yes, indeed. The population at the moment is 2,642. The Postal District brings in 507 more, making a total of 3,149. Mortality and birth rates constant from McPherson's gauge, 6.032.
Thank you very much, Professor. We're all very much obliged to you, I'm sure.
Not at all, ma'am, not at all.
This way, Professor, and thank you again.
And now for the political and social report. Editor Webb. Oh, Mr. Webb.
He'll be in a minute. He cut his hand while he was eating an apple.
Thank you, Mrs. Webb.
Charles, everybody's waiting!
Mr. Webb is editor and publisher of the Grover's Corners Sentinel. That's our town's paper, you know.
Well, I don't need to tell you that we're run here by a board of selectmen. All males vote at the age of 21, women vote indirect. We're lower middle class, sprinkling of professional men, 10% illiterate laborers. Politically, we're 86% Republican, 6% Democrat, 4% socialist. Rest, indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestant, 12% Catholic. Rest, indifferent.
Have you any comments, Mr. Webb?
Very ordinary towns. Probably a lot duller than others. Definitely more well-behaved. Anyone have any questions? Well, man, I'm not sure what you call much. Every Saturday night, the farmhands gather down in Ellery Green-Nose table, and they hoop and holler some. We have 1 or 2 town drunks, but they're feeling remorses every time an evangelist comes to town. No, ma'am, I don't say liquor have much of a commonplace in the household, except the medicine chest. Right good for snake bite, you know. Always was.
Is there no one in town
Come
aware?
forward, will you? Where we all can hear you. What were you saying?
Is there no one in town aware of social injustice or industrial inequality?
Oh, yes. Everybody is. It's something terrible. Everyone's talking about who's rich and who's poor.
Then why don't they do something about it?
Well, I don't know. It seems like we're all hunting for a way for the diligent and sensible to work their way up from the bottom, and the lazy and quarrelsome can sink to the bottom. Meanwhile, we do what we can to help those that can't help themselves, and those that can, we leave alone. Are there any other questions?
Is there any culture or love of beauty in Grover's Corner?
Well, ma'am, I'm not sure what you call much. We have many pleasures of a kind here. We all notice the sun rising up in the east, and we notice a great deal about the birds. We all know about them. We all know about the changes of the seasons as well. But the other stuff you're talking about, Robinson Crusoe in the Bible, Whistler's Mother, Handel's Largo, that's about as far as we go.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now we'll head back to the town. It's early afternoon. All 2,642 have had their dinners, and all the dishes have been washed.
There's an early afternoon calm in our town. A bus humming from the school buildings. Only a few buggies on Main Street. Horses dozing at the hitching posts. You all remember what it's like. Doc Gibbs is in his office tapping people and making them say, ah. Mr. Webb's over there cutting his lawn. 1 man in 10 thinks it's a privilege to push his own lawnmower.
No, sir. It's later than I thought. There are the children coming home from school now.
I can't, Lois. I've got to go home and help my mother. I promise.
Emily, walk simply. Who do you think you are today?
Oh, Papa, you're terrible. One minute you tell me to stand up straight, and the next you call me names. I just don't listen to you.
Golly, I've never gotten a kiss from such a great lady before.
Oh, excuse me, Miss Forrest.
Go out and play in the fields, young man. You got no business playing baseball on Main Street.
Awfully sorry, Mrs. Forrest. Hello, Emily.
Hello.
That was a fine speech you made in class today.
Thank you. I was just about ready to make a speech about the Louisiana Purchase, but at the last minute, Miss Corford made me talk about the Monroe Doctrine. I worked an awful long time on both.
Gee, it's funny, Emily. From my window up there, I can just see your head nights when you're doing homework in your room.
Why, can you?
Sure stick to it, Emily. I don't know how you can sit still for so long. I guess you like school.
I always figure it's something a person has to go through.
Yeah,
I don't mind it, really. It passes the time.
yeah. What do you think, Emily? We could set up a kind of telegraph from your window to mine. And you could give me a kind of hint or two about the algebra problem. I don't mean the answers, Emily, of course not. Just a kind of hint every once in a while.
Oh, I think hints are allowed. So, if you get stuck, George, you whistle to me, and I'll give you some hints.
Emily, I guess you're just naturally bright.
I figure it's just the way a person's born.
Yeah, but you see, I want to be a farmer. And my Uncle Luke says that whenever I'm ready, I could just come over and start working on his farm. And if I'm any good at it, I could just gradually have it.
You mean the house and everything?
Yeah. Well, I ought to be getting back out to the baseball field. Thank you for the talk, Emily. And the help. Good afternoon, Mrs. Webb.
Oh, good afternoon, George.
So long, Emily.
So long, George.
Emily, come and help me string some of these beads for winter.
Well, George Gibbs let himself have a real conversation, didn't he? Why, how old is George?
I don't know.
Well, he's got to be almost 16.
Mama, I made a speech today in class, and I was very good.
You'll have to recite it to your father during supper. What was it about?
The Monroe Doctrine. It was like silk off of school. I'm going to make speeches my whole life. Mama, are these big enough?
Try and get them a little bigger if you can.
Mama, will you answer me a question? Serious?
Seriously, dear, not serious.
Seriously, will you?
Of course I will.
Mama, am I good looking?
Well, of course you are. All my children have got good features. I'd be ashamed if they had.
Oh, Mama, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, am I pretty?
Yes. Now that's enough of that. You have a nice young pretty face, and I've never heard of such foolishness.
Mama, were you pretty?
I was, if I do say it. I was the prettiest girl in town. Besides, maybe Cartwright.
But Mama, you've got to say something about me. Am I pretty enough to get anybody, to get people interested in me?
Emily, you make me tired. Now stop it. You're pretty enough for all normal purposes. Now pick up that bowl and come in.
Oh, Mama, you're no help at all.
Thank you. That'll do. We're going to skip ahead again. But first, we want a little bit more information about our town.
I think this is a good time to tell you that they've begun building a new bank in Grover's Corners. Had to go to Vermont for the marble, sorry to say. And they've asked a friend of mine what they should put in the cornerstone for people to dig up 1,000 years from now. So of course they put in a copy of the New York Times and Mr. Webb's Sentinel.
We're kind of interested in this because some scientific fellas have developed a way of preserving the reading material with a glue, a silicate glue that will make it keep for 1,000, 2,000 years. So we're going to have a copy of the Bible, the United States Constitution, and William Shakespeare's plays put in the cornerstone. What do you say, folks? What do you think?
You know, Babylon once had 2 million people in it, and all we know about them are the names of kings, and some copies of wheat contracts, and contracts for the sale of slaves. Yet every night, all of those families sat down to supper, and smoke went up the chimney, and the fathers came home from their work. Same as here.
And even in Greece and Rome, all we know about the real life there is what they wrote in joking poems and comedies for the theater back then. So I'm going to have a copy of this play put into the cornerstone, so people 1,000 years from now will know a few simple facts about us. More than the Treaty of Versailles and the Lindbergh Flight. See what I mean?
So, people 1,000 years from now, this is the way we were in the provinces north of New York at the beginning of the 20th century. This is the way we were, in our growing up, and in our marrying, and in our living, and in our dying.
Blessed be the tie that binds our hearts in Christian love, the fellowship of kindred minds is like to that above.
Well, a good deal of time's gone by. You can hear choir practice in the Congregational Church. And the children are at home, doing their schoolwork. The day's running down like a tired clock.
Now look here. Music come into the world to give pleasure.
Blessed be the tie that binds
Softer.
our hearts in Christian love.
Softer! Get it out of your head that music is only good when it's loud. You leave the loudness to the Methodists. You couldn't beat them even if you wanted to. Now, tenors! Emily.
Hello.
Hello.
I can't work at all. The moonlight's so terrible.
Emily, what did you get for the third problem?
Which?
Number 3.
Why, yes, George. That's the easiest of them all.
I don't see it. Can you give me a hint?
I'll tell you one thing. The answer's in yards.
In yards? How do you mean?
In square yards.
Oh,
Don't you see?
yes.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Wallpaper. Oh. Thanks for the hint, Emily.
My, isn't the moonlight terrible? And choir practice going on? I think if you hold your breath, you can hear the train all the way to Quantico. Hear it?
Oh, what do you know?
Well, I guess I better get back and try to work.
Well, good night, Emily, and thank you for the help.
Good night, George.
Now, before I forget, how many of you will be able to make it to Fred Hersey's wedding? Show your hands. All right, that's fine. I'll be right nice. We'll play the same songs we played at Jane Trowbridge's last month. Now, you'll sing Arthur.